I'm sure. Okay, so it looks like I got everything set up. First I have to get everything. It is what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slideshow on Rumble. That way they can see the cool slideshow, and then they'll hear our voices. Yeah, hopefully they can hear our voices. In the wonderful world of weirdness. Right. Well, I mean, first I got to figure out how to pull this all off, and it's like, yeah. Okay, so now I come back to background. Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, I'm trying. I've got to do an audio test now. Let's see. All right. You talking about efficient? You guys drive each other nuts, man. Yeah, I'm not getting your voice. Neither one of your voice. Oh, I gotta do. No, it's just not coming in. Oh, I gotta turn the audio on. Now I've gotta mute all this stuff so that I don't get a loop. Yeah, I noticed that room. No. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why it. Say something real quick. Okay, yeah, I know what it is. I haven't got your guys' audio set up. Okay, now say something. Nope, not it. Yeah, I can hear you good. uh, Not yet. It's this desktop audio is what the problem is. I wish that was the actual problem. If it was drugs, I could say, hey man, you know, I'm just drug. No, it, I, I don't think you guys need to see me on drugs. I just, well, I mean, I'm serious when I say that. Like, you think I'm bad now? Shit. I mean, okay. So this time you're in your mom's basement. Oh.
Around, Roger. We're gonna reposition so this curtain's right behind us.
Okay, we're good. We got it. Okay, we're good. We got it.
He's got a squeaky door I can hear.
Yep.
That it?
Yep.
Can you see both of those?
This is Austin Todd's mystery show, formerly Summer Todd's. I gotta move this.
Yeah,
I gotta move this table.
Actually, you can just use this for a table.
Well, it's not even. I don't want to spill it.
Yeah, I don't want to spill it. It's pretty even. It's not. It's pretty even. Here, you go. Here, you go. Oh, okay. So we're just we got curtain back. We're just here, so it's a little better, maybe, than the wall that you were looking at. I don't.
Yeah. You can't hardly see the curtain.
Yeah, but you can if it's a bigger screen. I bet. Yeah. Oh, maybe.
No, we have more of them.
It's too dark.
Yeah, the way you position that. The only thing I don't like about full screens, we can't see them.
Yeah, you can't see them. I was just seeing if it was better.
Yeah.
Well, it's still better than that wall was.
Yeah, it's still
Kind
better.
of spooky.
Maybe I have to. But I'm not getting. Yeah. So I have to switch that back to monitor off. Now say something again. Now say something
Testing.
again.
Testing.
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 Okay, it's good. Got that. Okay, it's good.
Cool.
Got that. Okay, it's good. So you guys are all set up. So you guys are all set up.
Okay.
You guys are all set up. The only issue is I hear you, and I'm going to hear like a background. I'm going to hear like echo. And that's fine. And that's
Okay.
fine. As long as it's not happening over the stream, then everything should be okay.
What's so sure to me
It
about?
probably is.
I don't even know.
Hollywood conspiracies, and show business conspiracies and stuff. And you just talk about like the Diddy thing and just talk about like the Diddy thing. And the rock stars dying seriously and stuff.
Okay.
And once you get
Actually, I was with the audio and everything, and I think I got everything sorted out fine.
Okay. You ready for us to go?
I'm testing. I'm still not able to hear your voices. It keeps causing me issues.
he wants to get out
No.
and see.
That- yeah.
That's upside down.
Now, on the stream is where it's important. I'm wanting to hear your voice in the actual stream, and it's not playing back. Yeah, if you can, that'd be great.
Yeah, just turn it up from the underside there, right there. Now you turn it down, just making sure it goes.
Better?
Yeah. So is this in? Is this in your basement, Summer?
Yeah. That's where I've been doing it. Yeah. You'll be fine.
I can hear you. I can hear you. But oh wait, shit! That thing turned your audio all the way down. Now try it.
Okay.
Testing.
Testing.
Okay, yeah. Now you're coming through.
1, 2, 3.
That was
Okay.
annoying.
You ready?
Okay, let me go in here and mute the live stream wherever I had it on because I'm hearing an echo. But after that, we should be good. And
Okay.
this is probably one of the most interesting streams I've done this year. And we've done some pretty interesting streams.
Yeah, and the whole history
Yeah.
of the show.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it it sounds like everything is up to.
That's kind of spooky.
It's got a spooky vibe to it, don't it? It's got a spooky vibe to it, don't it? It's got a spooky vibe.
Okay. 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 It's actually very quiet where I'm at. It's not a lot
Yeah,
of
it's quiet.
It's not a
It's
lot
yeah,
of
it's
better. other room. Uh,
What are you getting? Are you getting an echo from Mark Edwards? Are you getting an echo from Mark Edwards? Are you getting an echo from
uh, uh,
If you're having so much problems, would it not be more sensible not to do it as a stream, but just to do it as a straight video and then do any sort of post editing after?
That make more sense. That make more sense. That make more sense.
No, I mean if you're having a problem with whether platforms you're streaming to.
well, I was charging my doorbell. It in on like a phone charger. When I turn the audio on in the kitchen, it was like this screaming stuff that was getting some kind of reverb or something. There was nothing in the kitchen.
I don't know if he can even hear you.
Yeah, he might.
Oh, okay. I didn't know for sure if he could or not.
So sometimes those things do weird things, I guess, when you're charging them or things like a playback. But I don't understand when you play back my doorbell. It's usually whatever's going on around or in the room. So, but there was nothing in there. Yeah.
We're just waiting for your go ahead to. We're just waiting for your be ready. Be ready.
All right.
All right. All right. Okay. We're ready whenever you are. We're ready whenever you are. We're ready whenever you are.
Hi, this is Summer Todd's Mystery Show. I haven't been on here in a while. We kind of took a little break. I'm on here with my son Austin, and tonight we're going to discuss like some Hollywood mysteries and conspiracy theories, things along that line. So if you want to join in, please feel free to. So we're going to get started with what was the topic we were going to start with, Austin? Probably right now, P. Diddy. I wouldn't say that's a conspiracy.
It's not really even a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact.
Right.
Because it's turned out to be a big to do, and you could go into great detail about that.
Well, usually, him. I think it's pretty cut and dry that there's a lot of issues with him that he has done, and maybe some he hasn't. Of course, they embellish things. But the thing that's really weird is Jay-Z and some of the things that's happening with him, and I'm almost afraid afraid to talk about Jay-Z myself. And because you have to say allegedly, a lot of the people on YouTube are saying allegedly because it seems like if you say something
I
about
was, sorry, I was just going to say, is the trial still going on? Is the trial active at this present moment?
the trial hasn't
Oh
started.
yeah, so allegedly, yeah.
The trial hasn't started for P. Diddy. I think it's in a couple months. But Jay-Z has gotten like he had somebody that accused him of rape, and now he's got a bunch of stuff, a bunch of lawsuits with Paycor and some issues with fraud and money things. So, but like I said, I really am almost afraid to talk about him. I know that there's a lot of YouTube channels where they are discussing him, and they always say allegedly. So these are allegedly things that are going on with him, but it's
Well,
kind
yeah.
of but
Disappoint innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
yeah. We were talking yesterday. It was really strange about this was something I mentioned to Austin is Will Smith. Remember the thing that happened at the was it the Grammys? It's Grammys.
The Grammys,
Yeah.
I think.
The
Grammys.
I don't know if you guys saw it, but where he went up and hit Chris Rock and all that, and then he went up. Will Smith went up to get the award, and I have never seen anything like it. It was like Will Smith had worked decades to be where he was to get this award in his career. He's very, well known and accepted. But so he's up there getting the award, but yet at the same time he destroyed it at the same time, almost simultaneously. It was just crazy. It was like he was the highest point and the lowest point within a few minutes of one another. And even Denzel Washington had mentioned that. He was like, sometimes the devil takes a while, but in his case, he was right there. So if anything doesn't make you if you don't believe in God or the devil, I mean, I think that particular incident would make you believe in it. Either he maybe just got too full of himself and something came in that night and just did it right away. It wasn't like Michael Jackson. It didn't take a long time or something to
Oh God, Michael Jackson was a slow, painful
yeah, and that's
demise.
that's the way it usually is with somebody that maybe isn't like that I think has everything, but then the devil kind of comes in and tries to ruin it or take it away from it. I mean, it usually takes them. So
I don't take very much notice of celebrity sort of gossip and stuff. I'm not in the Grammys, so I've got very limited information about.
okay. So you don't know the
Yeah.
story, Will Smith? Do, do, do you know who
Oh,
he is?
Will Smith is yeah, the actor in the 1990s sort of Fresh Prince of
Yeah.
Bel-Air. Yeah,
Prince of
yeah,
Bel-Air.
that actor, yeah.
Did you know the story where he hit Chris Rock and he hit him in the mouth with his fist? Slapped him, but it was pretty hard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, what happened is, I guess Chris Rock was a comedian for the night, and he got up and made some kind of comment about Will Smith's wife, who was bald, but I guess because she has alopecia, but she always wore her hair in like different styles. So Chris Rock was just being goofy. But then, what did Will Smith said? He said he cussed him
He
out.
said, "Get those words the fuck out of your mouth."
Yeah, and then he went up there.
Then he went up there and hit him in the face in front of the whole show.
Was he getting awards? It was almost at the same time that he was getting his wonderful awards for decades of work. And everybody in the audience was horrified, and it really insulted Black people because this is their moment, and he just destroyed that. Just made it look like he was just a Harlem boy. And I was just like, I've never seen anybody do that, where you're at the highest moment in your life and you just then you're at the lowest within moments of each other.
Yeah, it was a lot quicker fall from grace than Michael Jackson
or anyone.
Well, even really Diddy,
unravels.
even
Yeah.
really Diddy
Diddy
or
was around for
Jay-Z.
decades.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really
So, yeah, I was just going to ask, has Will Smith been in has he got a contract at the moment? Is he
he's
making anything?
got some new
Not
movies
sure.
and stuff, but his career is pretty much tanked. He's not going to go broke because of course he's was so wealthy anyway, but he's just not. I don't think he'll ever be.
You guys still watching it?
I don't think he'll ever regain the amount of notoriety he had.
I don't know. There's the old saying about reputations. Um, if it's good reputation, even if it is bad reputation. So even if you do slip up, you could turn it around and make it into something positive.
Yeah, I think, but in his case, doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, I think people are more forgiving if it's like, even if they take drugs or maybe if they're running around or they're doing, but or even if they're doing stuff with all kinds of women or men or whatever. But I think in his case, I don't know, there's just something so totally off about it, I guess. Actually hitting someone at the Grammys. He's not allowed to come back for what, 10 years or something, or
he's banned for
he's
a number.
banned for
He might
almost
be
life.
banned. He might be banned permanently. I'm not sure exactly.
And I think with him, it's that was his reputation was kind of clean too.
Yeah,
it just kind of
he had a squeaky clean. He was supposed to have like a squeaky clean image, but he totally tarnished it all in one night.
And he came back like this week or something with this lame rap song, but it's not, he's not
Oh, it was
back
terrible.
like he was in his 20s and 30s. He was doing that stuff when everybody
Shit.
loved him. So
How old is he now, though? He's older than freaking dog shit.
yeah, that's what I said. And it's like he's trying to go back to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and what was he in his 20s?
He was probably in his mid to late 20s back in the very early to mid 90s when he was doing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I would think.
Yeah.
So he could be getting into his late 50s now.
And, I'm a country boy, dude. I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't care if she was my ex-wife or not, but, like, if somebody said that, like like Chris Rock said, I would have knocked him on his ass. And I wouldn't have apologized about it either.
Yeah, here's the whole thing though with him. There's another side to that too. Like Will Smith and her, how she's disrespected him, and they've always had this open relationship. And then she had this show called The Red Door, where she basically would just say horrible things about Will, but they never got divorced. I think they had an open relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people were like, why are you bringing, like, he kind of brought this whole relationship thing into that. And a lot of people think she's kind of abusive to him, actually.
Yeah.
So he was like, what did you just do? I think it's an example of why maybe you shouldn't put your personal life too much into like your professional life. It doesn't usually work out too well.
Yeah, and she's repeatedly humiliated. She had a hand in setting that whole thing up, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, because she's the one that rolled her eyes and
she
stuff.
She was pitting them against each other, and then I think Will Smith almost gets off on being humiliated by her or something. Some kind of twisted fetish for him. But it wouldn't be like it would be with you, Roger, where you'd be protecting your woman or something. It'd be, it's different. He's screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, I know one thing when it comes to like that situation, it could have also been like a competition thing between him and Chris Rock as well, because that in the comedy industry, they're really, really competitive too. So.
Well, yeah, and I think also it's because Will does feel a little what do you call it?
Insecure
about the whole relationship. He wanted to show how tough he was, you know, because it's just a messed up kind of relationship, I think.
Yeah, she's always going on about how Tupac was so tough and stuff, and he was a gangster, and
Yeah.
you know, and Will's and you know, of course, Will, he's just soft. That's how she acts like with him.
Well, I mean, the dude actually wore spandex. Okay.
Who?
Will Smith. I mean, that.
Yeah, he wore spandex. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's not just him, that you see it happen with other stars. They'll get to the highest point, and then it's like everything starts to crumble. Of course, you know, a lot of times people are hiding who they really are and stuff.
You know,
like,
but
and it's still, jury's still out on Michael Jackson, but I always felt like he was guilty.
He was a pedophile. I mean, what kind of 40-year-old man shares his bed with other people's children?
No, I mean, who wants to sleep with kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sort of explainable because of his own upbringing.
Yeah, that's how he
Jackson
covered for it, I think.
But well, and he also, I mean, another thing that made me think he was a pedophile too is, I mean, he was having people coming on to him sexually from the time he was like 6 years old, back when he was in the Jackson 5 and stuff.
Yeah, I think his dad may have been abusive, but
his dad was abusive too.
Yeah, and I watched a show a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know this, that he paid off. He had only paid off one victim, but he paid off 4, and now there's 2 that are still, they're in their 40s now, and they're suing his record label or his like LLC because they said people knew about it, and they were pretty small, 7 to 11 or something.
Yeah,
where they said 2 they were that are still they're in their 40s molested now, but and their parents were groomed because Michael would have the parents. He would buy them stuff. He bought them houses and stuff. Their parents and or something. Then he would go to hotels and have the parents stay, but he put them down at the end of the hall and take the kids and sleep with them. Well, that's the parents' fault too.
Yeah, the parents were definitely complicit.
But they do groom the parents too sometimes, I've heard. So he
found parents stupid enough to believe his lies and immoral enough to let themselves groom themselves money and nice things and nice things.
Yeah, but there's
at least that's my take on it.
But those aren't really conspiracies as much as just action.
Those are conspiracy facts. I mean, those are conspiracy facts. I mean, but we're talking about Hollywood conspiracies. Conspiracies include theories and sometimes theories.
Now we watch one about Telly Savalas. If you want to tell him, that's not too long, I guess. Do you know who that is, Mark? He's older.
Yeah, actor from 70s. Did a lot of
and you know him, right, Roger?
Did quite a bit of horror stuff, various other stuff,
yeah. So I watched a show the other night. It was pretty spooky about him. I mean, he didn't do anything wrong, but you can tell it. I sent it to you, didn't I?
Yeah, he broke down. Telly Savalas was driving down a road late one night back in the 50s, and his car broke down. He had to walk up the road to a gas station and to get a gas can and stuff, and so he could fill his car back up. And he was walking up the road, and this guy pulled up and gave him a ride to the gas station. And the guy told Telly Savalas his name, and the guy mentioned this baseball player from the Boston Red Sox and stuff, and who had already passed away, which Telly Savalas thought was really strange, but he was more preoccupied with getting gas. So he got his gas, got back on the road. And the next day, he tried to call the number this guy had given him. He got a hold of the guy's wife, and the guy's wife hung up on him because she thought he was pranking her.
Yeah, she cussed him out.
but he called her several more times and finally got her to tell him what was going on. And apparently, it turns out the guy that had given him the ride that night was her husband. And the problem was her husband had shot himself He had committed suicide by shooting himself several years earlier. So she didn't understand how he could have been there to give Telly Savalas the ride that night. And then several years later, in 1963, it was actually on November 22nd, 1963, Telly Savalas was playing golf with some friends of his at this big country club resort in California. And he saw this guy that had given him the ride, the ghost of this guy that had given him the ride several years earlier when his car ran out of gas. And the guy told him, "Did you hear about JFK?" And then he was really freaked out by it, and he didn't think nothing of it. And then him and his friends were sitting inside the resort after they finished their round of golf, eating lunch, and they heard that JFK had been assassinated. But this guy's ghost told Telly Savalas about JFK's assassination at least several hours before it actually happened.
Yeah, and also the guy had a weird voice, like his voice was really high, which Telly Savalas always thought was weird, but he didn't find out till later when he was talking to his wife that the guy had shot himself in hit the throat. So that explained that, because he always thought that was weird. And then, well, he said that something else happened with that man, but he couldn't talk about it. So I don't know. And he didn't know why this man was following him.
Well, the thing that's weird is, why was that guy, this was a guy who never knew Telly Savalas, and who Telly Savalas had no idea of when this guy was alive. Why would this guy's ghost have come to him just out of the blue like he did, and then followed him the rest of his life? That was what Telly Savalas never could figure out.
Oh, well, what's the thing with the ball player, though?
And they don't know what the thing with the ball player is about, because this guy's ghost always mentioned that ball player anytime he visited. According to Telly Savalas, he always talked about this baseball player from the Red Sox, and he never knew why that was either, which was really weird.
Because he looked him up or something, because I don't think he was into baseball.
Yeah, because he wasn't following baseball, which was even more bizarre. He didn't know why that he always mentioned him anytime he came around either.
So I always wonder, though, what he wasn't saying. That's scary. But I guess I have no idea what else happened. Maybe somebody knows. Maybe his wife knew, but he didn't talk about it publicly. And he said it in the story that he wouldn't talk about it.
Telly Savalas, he did do an interview where he talked about that on an old paranormal show from Australia that was big in the 90s. I don't know if it ever aired over here in America, but it was an Australian paranormal show. I forget what it was called, but it was big, and it was real big in the 90s. I don't know if you guys ever may have seen it in the UK, but
yeah. So that was interesting.
I'm just having a look. I just simply stuck in baseball and JFK into Google, and in 1961, there was some connection between Jackie Robinson, some baseball player back in '61, and Kennedy, and.
Yeah.
Huh. Sure of the direct connection, but yeah, weird.
Yeah, it was an interesting story.
Yeah, he didn't seem the type that would
He never seemed the type that really had anything to gain from making up such a story, and why would the story have went exactly like that too, is the weird thing. So it's it's one of the Hollywood mysteries, that persists to this day.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I watched him story too, and he's he's kind of mysterious anyway, a little bit. This was
I'm gonna try to
cool.
look up what that Australian show was.
He did a lot of stuff with Christopher Lee. Oh yeah, Christopher Lee, didn't he? The horror actor.
Who? Christopher who?
Lee. As in the English horror.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just wonder if there was some sort of connection,
Yeah.
something maybe.
Are you looking up that show?
Yeah, you can keep talking. Telly Savalas.
Now, Christopher Lee, what did he do again? You were cutting out.
He's the English horror who did all the Hammersmith horror films, Pinewood horror films.
Hollywood horror films.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The big
Things
one.
like I think it was Wicker Man and
was
what's
the
the one? Yeah, there was a one with in relation to sort of Russia and train related film where both of them actually appeared.
Oh, okay.
And I can remember the name of the film now. It was around that. I'm in the mid-60s, early to mid-60s.
I have to look him up. I'm not sure. I know I've heard of him.
I'm getting bad reception down here.
Right.
Know why?
But yeah, I think it's kind of spooky, some of the stuff that happens to people that are famous too. I guess they have to watch maybe something coming in to change things up. Or maybe if they get too full of themselves, they kind of self-implode.
Well, just because somebody's acting career is finished doesn't mean that their career's finished. Many actors do we know that have ended their actual acting career and start writing memoirs or books or.
Yeah, sometimes they move on to something else.
Yeah. Something for a little, yeah.
Okay, so now I can confirm with you guys the audio sounds good. I even adjusted the audio so that it sounds good on the stream, so you're all good.
Yeah.
And,
well, I'm not.
I want to add to the P. Diddy thing, though, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it a little bit. We're trying to look at stuff, so we're listening, but we're still listening.
You're trying.
Do you guys know about the freaking baby oil?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You've mentioned this a few times. Yeah.
I haven't been able to talk to Summer about this, though. Yeah, you know about the Costco's?
Costco's, what, how much he ordered or something?
Okay, he ordered a whole bunch of baby oil, and according to what I've heard, they found a receipt saying that he bought it from Costco.
Really?
Okay.
Why would he buy it from Costco?
The weird part about it, though, is when they did a check on it, they found out that Costco's has never freaking sold baby oil on their counters ever.
Yeah, on their counter, don't they have a website? You might be able to special.
They have never
sell baby oil, though.
I don't know, but
maybe he bought it. He cleared off the shelf. I don't know. I never heard any details about where he bought it.
Yeah,
lot they found in his house or something, or one of the mansions that he had.
Well,
yeah,
I've got to browse the web for information, so I run across some of the weirdest shit. That's the reason why I'm on a channel called The Wonderful World of Weirdness.
Well, and I think the sad part is I'm sure Diddy's done some stuff, but especially when you watched how he beat his girlfriend up. But there was that video. But I think people, come forward that are just crazy. Some of it, like there was this one thing saying he was a necrophiliac, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, yeah, maybe he was weird, but really, now they're saying there's dead people somewhere. And I'm like, some of these stories get embellished, I believe. So.
Well, I mean, you know that there's a lot of people who thinks he was involved in Tupac's death, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
I think what's funny to me is like Jay-Z was trying to act like they weren't friends, but they were very close. So I really feel like Jay-Z's a part of some of the, allegedly a part of a lot of things too, but it may not come out. I mean, he's got so many other things going on that I don't know, but yeah.
I was amazed when he married Jennifer Lopez.
Who?
He did.
Did they get married?
Well, actually, I think they were in a relationship. They might not have been married. That was weird.
Yeah, and well, there's people that say she knew a lot about what was going on. And actually, I heard something about her. Now, I'm not sure if this is true. Ben Affleck, you know how they separated pretty quickly. And I always thought it was because this thing was coming out with P. Diddy, and maybe Ben thought he just wanted to get away from it, kind of, because she dated him around that time. But supposedly, and this might not be true either, but Ben Affleck came home one day and Jennifer Lopez was doing something called, I can't remember. It's a black magic from New Orleans. It's called Sweden or something like that.
I think so.
And that she was practicing it on something like Ben Affleck's picture or something. And he got freaked out and he was like, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. So that supposedly is what happened. But he's not confirming it. But I do know their divorce happened pretty quickly. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like one day they seemed like okay, and the next they were,
You noticed that Mark Edworthy has like a candle lit and burning in the background?
You can't see.
Actually, no, it's my backlight that's flickering. I've got a LED light that's up here and it's flickering.
And see, that's something they've talked about. And J-Lo and some of them being into the, what is it, the Illuminati. That was kind of weird that J-Lo, Ben came forward with this. Well, he didn't. A story came forward about it. Supposedly he told somebody. But, they said a lot of those people are in the Illuminati. They've sold their soul to the devil to be so famous. But I don't know how much.
There's a big thing going around about Hollywood and the Illuminati and MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Well,
that was what it was with Beyonce and J-Lo, and gosh, there's a lot of them. But yeah, did you find it?
Yeah, there was that Australian show that Telly Savalas was on was called The Extraordinary.
I've never heard of it.
It was big in the.
See, that's what. See, this is what I'm talking about with Mark. Like, Mark's English. He should know all this British stuff, and he just.
Well, I know. Well, yeah, I know the connection with him and Christopher Lee, but again, and some of these other American films, but yeah, as far as these Australian activities.
So is Telly Savalas actually British? Is he English?
Is he? I think he's from California or something. I think
he was Greek.
Actually.
He's of Greek descent.
I think he was the Greek Cypriot. He was from Cyprus, wasn't he?
His parents were Greek immigrants, I think, and I believe he grew up in New York.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything that's inappropriate because, well, I mean, you know how I feel about Greek.
No, I don't. How come you feel about what's wrong with that?
How do you feel about
Greeks are like all homosexuals. They run around in funny looking clothes and stuff.
Oh, he was a man.
I don't think he was gay though.
Actually, he was, yeah, he saw the ghost. He was coming home from a date, he said.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
he was he was one of the straight Greeks.
Well, think about it, okay? You gotta really be realistic here. You know how Greek people are, okay?
No. How are they?
They always have to look and act masculine. So even if they are gay, you're not gonna know unless they tell you.
Well, I mean, the possibility. I mean,
That's
Rock
possible,
Rock Hudson was gay, and who would have ever thought that?
I'll be right
My
back.
God.
Well, he wore suits.
Yeah.
You know, he was a suit wearer. He
But he was a man, too.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? He could have been Greek.
I don't think he was, though. I think, of course, back then he had to kind of hide it. It wasn't popular.
Yeah.
And people were more judgmental than they are today. I mean, it wouldn't probably mess him up. Well, it might have the way he was back then.
Well, he was also a sex object. You got to remember that. Like, whenever everybody thinks sex objects, they think women were just sex objects. But like,
yeah, that can ruin. Being a star stuff. It's all about the image you create for yourself, and you're not always right.
Which takes us back to Hollywood. MK Ultra and and the Illuminati, and we were talking about it recently about look at Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people freaking think that she was possibly MK Ultra too. She was brainwashed because of the stuff.
She got famous pretty quickly.
And look at the relationships. She said she was in a relationship with the JFK before she committed suicide.
Well, both of the brothers, yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I didn't even think Bobby too.
Yeah. I mean, that everybody's kind of thinking that they killed her, so
yeah,
make it look like a suicide.
And like, if you go even deeper, look at Jacqueline Kennedy. I mean, she handled JFK's assassination pretty well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then she went and married the richest was he an oil magnate? Who was that she married? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
He was a Greek dude.
He was Greek. Yeah. And oh my gosh, he was so wealthy. Yeah.
That's my...
I always thought that was kind of weird how she married him, and like, yeah. Oh, Onassis, Aristotle Onassis.
Yeah.
That was so strange. The whole thing about JFK was weird.
Yeah.
The whole thing, all about the Kennedys and everything, both of the brothers,
But I mean, there actually could be some truth in that whole thing with Hollywood, though, because like, you remember the little girl that played on what was it? It's a Wonderful Life. It's the one about Santa Claus, where he was on in that Macy's Day Parade. Miracle on 31st Street.
The one with Jimmy Stewart in it? Yeah.
You remember that little girl right there? She was actually they considered her maybe being a part of MK Ultra too, because her death was mysterious, just like Marilyn Monroe's.
Oh. Now I know there was a girl that died when they were doing. Was it the Poltergeist? She had stomach issues, and they said that they couldn't figure out what it was, and then she had like some kind of septic shock or something she died from. But I don't know if they think that was weird or anything.
I thought it was.
But in the Poltergeist, there was some weird things going on with that.
I thought it was like anus. Didn't she have like cancer in her butt?
No, that's Farrah Fawcett. Wasn't that Farrah Fawcett? Lady. No, I'm talking about the little girl in Poltergeist.
Yeah, the little blonde girl.
The blonde girl. No, she had stomach issues.
I forget what her name was.
And they couldn't, like, they did all these things, and they couldn't find out what it was. And then she passed away, and then they looked. I think she had a blockage or something. But back at that time, it was kind of hard. They did exploratory surgery, couldn't find some things. And when you're that little, you really can't describe everything that's going on sometimes. But yeah, and then who else died in that? There was a lot of weird stuff going on in the movie.
That Native American guy, the Indian guy in
was that the poltergeist? Yeah.
He was in that too. He was supposed to be like a shaman in the movie or something. He passed away.
Yeah, weird though. It was kind of weird just suddenly. And who else? What was else? Oh. There was just strange things that had happened during that movie when they were filming it. And same with The Exorcist and what was the one that with the guy with the looked like my brother?
That was
oh my goodness.
The Exorcist.
Was that The Exorcist?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he was the preacher in it. Yeah. He died from the flu, I think.
Yeah, but I have my theories about The Exorcist, though, because, first of all, you don't mess with Pazuzu, okay?
And you don't do what?
You don't mess
do it again?
You don't mess with Pazuzu. And when the way they portrayed Pazuzu in that movie was freaking... They should have been ashamed of themselves, because...
Yeah, a Catholic priest...
Yeah, you don't mess with that, and I'm not even going to repeat it. I'm not going to say its name. I'm not going to do that.
And there's this Catholic priest.
I won't even speak its name.
There's a Catholic priest I've watched before. Actually, I saw him. It was kind of a paranormal interview because he's one of the few exorcists in America. And he's talking about how he's so busy now. And he does talk about that movie. And he does talk about how it's not realistic, really. And a bit bad just to even be in movies like that or dabble with. But he does real exorcisms. He says, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that's not, depicted correctly. But he says it's nothing to mess with.
Well, the figurine that they show on there. Now,
yeah,
he could be both good or evil. All right, and a lot of people back in those days would take that little figurine and they would bury it in the front of their doors and in the back of their doors, around the house to ward off evil spirits. So it was how you had that relationship with that spirit or daemon is what they called him, that determined if he was going to be good or if he's going to be bad. So
and like gargoyles and stuff, they're supposed to protect the castles and stuff from bad entities, but they look spooky. I guess you could use them for something bad.
Well, gargoyles are fictional.
Yeah, they are, but the people put them up for like if you go, we went to see Biltmore Estates in North Carolina have. The gargoyles are like, they built them like that because it's supposed to ward off evil spirits and be good juju for your house or karma. But, they really are.
Juju.
But they're so scary looking. They're scary.
Bad juju.
And I went to there's a place called Waverly Sanitarium. Have you ever heard of that? It's this sanitarium in Kentucky. And it had TB patients, and it's supposed to be haunted. It's empty now, and they're trying to fix it up like a hotel or something, but they do tours. And they have gargoyles all over that place. But it's supposed to be haunted, and it's spooky. But yeah.
Being in Britain, you obviously a lot of old Victorian Georgian houses here, buildings here, and I've got there's a place just, I don't know, half a mile away from me, with quite a few gargoyles outside.
Yeah.
Now, what part of the UK?
He's cracking.
Southwest.
Southwest.
Southwest. Where at? You cut out.
Devon.
Devon.
Within Devon.
Oh, okay.
Devon.
Yeah, Devon. That's down. No, actually. Okay, London. You know where London would be located? He'd be to the west of there.
That'd be the east, southeast.
So he's
Well, it'd be the other side of the country, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you
Where London would be on the far east and Churchill on the far west.
Right. He wouldn't be around the channel. He'd be on the other side of London.
but that's in England, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are lots of old buildings.
Below Wales, in effect.
Live in Wales.
No, just below. Just below.
Oh, below Wales in England.
You've been around John long enough not to do that.
Yeah.
But
those English and Wales guys, they have a rivalry going, so they might want to like rumble with you.
Welsh and the English.
Yeah, back in the days, those were rumble words. They would have come at you with the old British bulldog and.
Yeah, the baiting matches.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of historical buildings though around where you're at, Mark, or just older buildings, or.
Where I am is just full of history. Dating back to 1066. Dating back to got a real weird mismatch of buildings on there. Got some really new stuff and get some. In fact, I'm living here. Where I am now is in a 3-story Georgian building.
I keep telling him, I keep wanting him to go and like take pictures and stuff like that around him. He won't do it. He just will not do it. just
yeah, like 1066 was when the Normans. That was when the Normans came in there and pushed the Celts and Druids out of the area, right?
Or Saxons, really. Yeah.
They pushed the Saxons out. The Normans did.
I wouldn't say the
Normans. Not really pushed them out, but there was a big political shift, must I say.
I would say more the Romans cleared them out before the Nords got.
Well,
Normans.
Yeah, Romans cleared out the Celts and a lot of the Druids and stuff.
Yeah, they washed you guys. They washed you clean. Got rid of all those reprobates.
They got rid of those indigenous peoples.
Yeah. Freaking. I'm gonna tell you something, man. When it comes to England, like, oh my God, dude, like they are crazy, all of them, and they don't want to admit they're crazy. Mark is probably the nuttiest person I know. Okay.
Why?
Yes.
Am I?
I remember one time on Discord, John posted a picture of like a ghost in an old Scottish castle, and I asked him. I said that looks kind of like a beefeater from the Tower of London, and he responded and he said a beefeater would be lynched in Scotland.
Oh,
yeah, actually, those castles up there, yeah.
Which they would be, I'm sure, because the beefeaters are English, so I'm sure the Scottish don't care much for them.
Well, the gargoyles are for Victorian homes. The big old, that's what that's
and that
Biltmore was built by like he wanted it to be English.
He copied a lot of English architecture,
and he actually went to England and got pictures and stuff for it.
His architect worked with some people over in the UK, I believe. So that they borrowed a lot of the old English architecture and what have you when they built it. Yeah. And it was famous. A lot of things that, and of course, too, Britain being the mother country, a lot of British stuff carried on to America in the post-Revolutionary War era. So we have a lot of
a lot of that sort of Gothic aesthetic. I think really comes from Northern Europe, so UK as well. But yeah, mainly, generally speaking, was more popular in the 15th, 16th century in Germany, I think.
So maybe it moved westward from Germany then.
Yeah.
Into
Well, like I said, Northern Europe. So yeah.
Well,
maybe it was original
Mhm.
thing.
Well, you got to take the Welsh into consideration. That's what that was all about. The Welsh beliefs started over there in that area, like the mounds.
In Central Europe.
You know, and they migrated to England.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't really like the English too much, because the English never did like them coming in there. It was like, because the English people don't like anybody coming to their country at all. All throughout history, they've always hated that. Like, everybody who came to their countries in mass amounts was like invaders from another country. It's just historically correct. You know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to examine it from not only a political sense, but from a geographical sense. All of mainstream Europe, there's neighbouring countries, there's borders and neighbouring countries. Whereas in England or the United Kingdom, we've got oceans around our country, so
right.
It's harder to invade.
Yeah.
It's not like
Any foreign invaders that would have taken over the British Isles have been drastically slowed down by having that body of water surrounding it.
Yeah.
Look at the Romans. Okay, the Romans, they tried to conquer England, couldn't do it.
They couldn't take Scotland
back in the 16th century.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
that was where they built Hadrian's Wall, right?
Hadrian's Wall is where it stopped. They couldn't pass that area, and then after that happened, you had the freaking, who was it? The Vikings. The Vikings were able to take the shores on the west side, no, the east side, and then Scotland and Ireland, but they couldn't conquer the entire island either.
Arguably, the Vikings and Norse were probably the most effective invaders.
Yeah, but they still couldn't take the landmass. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't take.
Interestingly enough, that was also around the same times the Vikings and the Norse and stuff were here in North America briefly, because they also came into North America. And who knows exactly how far inland they went here? We don't really know. We know they were here in the 1000s, about 500 years before Columbus.
Yeah.
The Norsemen.
The Blueberg. I found out that was the name of the Viking who actually did most of the conquering in England. It was.
What is it?
He was called Blueberg.
Oh.
Or Blueberg. Or something like that.
Bube.
Yeah.
Bube.
I thought it was the red that did it, but come to find out it was the blue. The blue did it.
Technically, Vikings were more of a sort of tribal sort of. You had multiple tribes, so so many tribes tried to independently enter what we now know as the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or North America.
Well, the red, him and his son were pretty stupid, though. I mean, they really were. Like, if you read about these guys, they're like, the story about how the red was killed was really dumb. Like, he was. It says that he was in his house, and they came to kill him, and he ran from his house down to the shore where they broke his back over a rock, and that's the entire story.
Oh well.
You know,
How factual is that? I wonder.
That's about as factual as you can get. I mean,
that's about all they could go on with regards to that.
Yeah, you know, and that. I mean, with their limited reading ability back then, that's probably the best.
The literacy really high.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. There's a lot of ghost stories and stuff though around Europe and London. And
Well, London has the Tower
Yeah.
of London. That's one of their most famous
Mm.
haunted locations.
yeah.
And of course, Stonehenge is not too far from you, is it, Mark?
Oh, you live
Next county, really. Yeah.
See,
Also called Somerset. But even down there, we've got Dartmoor and Exmoor, and obviously there are all those ghost stories around those two moors,
Yeah.
such as
Yeah.
the Sherlock Holmes Hound of the Baskervilles and the Headless Horse Riders and stuff.
this all goes
Wow.
back to what I just said earlier. Just he's worthless. I mean, you know what I'm saying, dude? Look, he just said it. He's like a county away, dude, and he will do nothing. Nothing.
I just think about it for a minute. Yeah.
Just take a sabbatical and go to the next county and take some pictures, man, and like do the
What?
tour. You know what I mean?
Send us some pictures from over there, Mark. It's always cool, man.
Dude, you were like right there in the freaking.
Stonehenge.
You're there, dude. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that we can't do. Like you were right there.
You probably say, I never go out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Have you ever visited Stonehenge?
Have you gone to Stonehenge?
No, actually, I've never actually been. I've been through Somerset, but I've never actually spent any time in Somerset. I have Maidenhead, Minehead, so that's in Somerset. Yeah, I've spent a bit of time in Minehead. But yeah, it's a smaller day. But yeah, I've not really spent any time visiting Somerset per se, as such.
Huh.
Okay.
Don't they have a summer solstice thing or winter solstice? Like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would be
Celebrations
like
every year.
I guess
Oh yeah,
if you
yeah,
know
yeah.
something because I was born on June the 21st, which is the summer solstice. They said, that you'd be like a queen. You go up there. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Well,
But,
I mean,
thing
you
going
better
on there.
you better be careful though, because like
Yeah.
there's a lot of weird shit going on at those freaking festivals. Like they get butt naked and start dancing and shit, and like there's like naked people everywhere.
I just think they have some kind of ritual that the person's like it's kind of just like what is it? It's like a dance or
It's a
Yeah.
pagan's
That's kind of
of the
pagan.
summer solstice and the winter solstice.
I'm just telling you ahead of time, pagan festivals, there's usually naked people dancing around. So, and
Well,
Yeah,
I
there
didn't
is.
know that.
There-
I wasn't
there
really
is.
thinking about that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Roger's mind's in the gut.
no, I'm gonna tell you right now, some human bodies just should not be seen naked.
It's
Okay,
glass.
so you know what I mean. So you're not.
I think
Don't be
he
just.
drink.
No,
the show
you need a
adds to it.
glass.
I
Don't,
think it adds to it.
yeah. Don't be thinking that it's like all these beautiful people there dancing to pagan music.
I was reading. They said that if
No, they're
you're
real fat people and
they
stuff.
said if you're born on the summer solstice, though, that it's a good thing there anyway.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Oh yeah, they put you on a throne of gold and put a crown of gold on your head, and you'd be at the center of Stonehenge
Woo!
for people worshiping you and
Yeah,
dancing
sure.
around you with torches and stuff. Yeah, they'd be.
just be
It's
careful.
amazing. Station went from like Hollywood conspiracy theories to pagan rituals with naked people dancing at Stonehenge.
You keep talking
Sting-
like that, she's gonna be getting a ticket to freaking England and shit, dude.
Yeah.
You,
I mean, Sting, I guess Sting has got the castle there, and he actually, I think he did tell a story about it's haunted too.
He lives in
He said it
lives
was
in
haunted.
he lives in an old castle that was built in the 1000s
Yeah.
at some point or something. Which I'm actually a little bit jealous of him for because
Yeah.
that'd be badass.
He said it was haunted.
That'd be badass to live in that, man. I'd go. He goes out there and sits and has his morning coffee at Stonehenge and watches the sunrise among Stonehenge. I mean,
Yeah, that's
Come on, man.
crazy.
Yeah.
We have to go out in our yards and look outside the trees or something.
see, Mark, you could be doing that, but no.
yeah, Mark,
Nope, you could be doing that.
Actually, earlier today, this morning, I was watching a video, a YouTube video that was released earlier yesterday, about connections between Scotland and Hawaii, and so Hawaii
doing that.
being the only state in that actually has a royal castle on it. Like Hawaii had its own royalty before America, or before it became the US, and there's a connection between Scottish landscape artist and the Hawaii monarchy. So,
Really?
yeah. So, yeah, there was a sort of there's all these jokes about making Canada part of the US, make Hawaii part of Britain again.
Well,
Did you say Hawaii part of Britain?
yeah.
yeah. Why not? If the US wants to have Canada as part of the US, we do a trade. You can have Canada, we can have Hawaii.
Well, I mean, that's not really a fair trade. Well, I mean, I guess now we've already pretty much screwed Hawaii up all to hell, so we could just give it to you now.
Yeah.
It's not as like back in the 80s, you know what I'm saying? When you watched old 80s TV shows of Hawaii, it was beautiful. Now when you watch
Hawaii, very popular tourist.
It might be popular, but it's not beautiful anymore. You know what I mean?
She jokingly said she's getting tired of waiting on you.
But don't wait on him. I told you not to.
Now, when it comes to
What's he making do?
when it comes to the whole Canada thing, you're not up to date on the new story, though, are you? Like now,
don't do that because he'll think he'll take advantage of you.
The King of England is coming over to visit Trump, and they're going to make a deal to where we join the kingdom, so we're going to be a part of the British island.
I've heard that. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Not doing that, is he?
Did you say that?
No.
Did you say that Roger? Did you say the King of England is visiting Trump
and
trying to make a deal to where the British Isles become part of the United States?
No, where the United States becomes a part of the British Empire. I
didn't hear.
Yeah,
that would have been.
That's the newest bit of information that comes out. You know what I mean?
But how can we become part of the British Empire when Alberta's talking about joining us and we just acquired Greenland, I think, as a new territory?
Well, that's the whole thing.
You've not acquired. You haven't made a deal with Denmark yet.
We made some kind of bid on. I don't know where it's at now.
Well, see, you guys are missing the point there, though.
Oh, Denmark.
We're consolidating is what it is, okay? So what's going to end up happening is we're going to take and get Greenland. We're going to pull in Canada. And then after we pull in Canada, we're going to join the British Empire and become a part of this conglomerate freaking district. So we're going to have the Northern District, and then the African nations are going to do the same thing, and then the Asians are going to do the same things. We're going to have 4 different districts, and then eventually that's going to consolidate into one world order.
I don't get him his cash. The only thing I get.
So I didn't hear anything about us becoming part of the British Empire.
Yeah, it was just news. It came out like 2 weeks ago.
You sure that
it's not news? It's fictional news.
Yeah.
I think that's fake news.
Well, it's just like England or Canada.
Now, I will say Alberta, Canada, is talking about if the Liberals win the election there this October, they are talking about drafting up demands to Ottawa. And if Ottawa doesn't follow their demands, they're either going to become their own country or become the 51st state of the United States. There actually is a thing going on with that. that actually is in the work.
I'm not sure if it's an actual thing. It's more,
Well, it's kind of
yeah, it's more, yeah, it's I don't see that happening.
It probably won't, but I mean, it's being talked about and thrown around a whole lot, but
I feel sorry for them if they do join the United States. Like Canadians don't fit in with this country. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like Care Bears and Rainbow Bright. You know what I mean? It's like
Also, that raises a big question about the Commonwealth. Well,
yeah. Well, I mean, do you think that it would be an issue with England if we just kind of take it as our own and say, you know, look, England, when you don't have anything to say about it?
well, you can't take any part of Canada or your own. That would be technically an invasion, and that would be tantamount to a world war.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
because
NATO Article 5. Yeah.
to get in, Canada from England, we'd have to put in a bid to England. We'd have to probably bid on it. And
yeah, and then there would have to be a referendum in Canada.
Yeah. There'd have to be a vote on it and everything. The only thing that looks like it may happen or is being talked about potentially happening right now, which probably won't happen, is the Alberta thing. But that's not all of Canada. That's just a single province. Yeah. And that'll be up to them to decide whether they take away or not.
I personally cannot see that happening. No.
Well, I mean, England is really hard up for money right now too. So you got to also take that in consideration.
Great Britain rather than England.
Well, yeah.
Remember the United Kingdom.
Great Britain is actually, their finances aren't really as great as what everybody makes it out to be.
That's always. You could argue about that about any European country. You could argue about that about the US and all the issues surrounding tariffs, recent tariff news.
Our bad economy though is like really good for you guys. You know what I'm saying? Like when we have a bad economy, you guys actually have a better one. So. It's
in theory, but again, there's the entire Eastern Europe issue at the moment.
Well, we're just talking about England, though. I mean,
yeah, it's all related. Nothing happens in the vacuum.
Yeah, I mean,
usually, generally, whenever our economy is bad, England is doing good, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, generally, I'm just saying. And if you want to incorporate the rest of Europe, and go ahead, dude. But I'm just saying.
I mean, they do play a factor in there to a point, but it's kind of it's a complex variety of issues and what have you.
And nobody likes Europe. I mean, seriously, be serious, dude. Like even England hates them with a passion. Like.
They probably should.
I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Especially
people.
Well, I guess we'll go back to what do we talk about? Some more stuff, or
I'm trying to tie it all what we're talking about now into somehow, but we got so far off our train of thought. I don't know how we get back to what we were talking about.
Just start on the next topic you had.
I don't know. I guess we were kind of talking about.
We could talk about how a lot of the rock stars and stuff that we think have died.
Oh, there was one I just thought about was Jimi Hendrix. Stevie Ray Vaughan had an interview not too long ago. I was watching it, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was talking about Jimi Hendrix, and he said, you know, he really didn't die the way they said he did. And he said, I really can't talk about it. So I looked it up a little bit. I did a little research on it. And I guess some people think that Jimi Hendrix was worth more dead than alive because of the recordings and how much money he'd make after he died. And that he really didn't overdose himself, that it was he was killed. But I had never heard that. I mean, and I was, around in the 60s, Jimi Hendrix was big, but yeah. So that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's actually a video where Stevie Ray Vaughan mentions that briefly, but then he just leaves it at that.
He was pretty upset about it.
I can post it, maybe if we can use the video, like put it in the link in the description section or something.
You can. It's out
maybe
there.
I can send you a link, but that's up to you, Roger.
And then Stevie Ray Vaughan was another one that, he died in a helicopter crash just at he was at the height of his career. He was, not completely, he was just going. He was going to be phenomenally successful, and he was successful, but even more.
Makes me wonder if he wasn't killed himself after having said that. Maybe.
Well, I never thought about that. But he wasn't supposed to be on the helicopter that night. I think his brother was going to go, but his brother was engaged to some lady, and they couldn't all fit on the copter. So she just said, "You go, and we'll go in a car." And so he ends up getting on this copter. And I think Eric Clapton was actually supposed to be with them, but he didn't go for some reason either. There was a lot of weird things about the night.
Now you mentioned Eric Clapton, that actually rings a bell. Yeah, I remember reading something about this many years ago.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, wasn't it? Or was that
very late 80s?
Yeah.
I
think, and Eric Clapton was supposed to be there on there, I thought. But yeah, it was really odd. And Stevie Ray Vaughan had some drug problems, but he had gotten over them. He was feeling better than he ever had. He was playing better. I mean, he was just doing so well. And then, it was kind of his career was cut short.
And that's not the first time I've heard people say that it's weird how musicians suddenly became druggies and supposedly died from drug overdose. They were acting like the same thing happened with Prince. Remember that? Who was that was saying that?
Yeah.
Because he suddenly became this big drug addict or whatever.
Yeah.
Towards the very end, when he hadn't been into drugs throughout the whole course of his career.
Right. He didn't seem to like
as far as anybody knew.
Yeah. But Stevie Ray Vaughan wasn't on him anymore. But but Jimi Hendrix, they said, was he.
They said he was, but.
Well, let's look at the blood trail. Okay, you guys are leaving out. You're leaving out Richie Valens, died from a mysterious airplane crash that everybody still talks about today. Oh, you go ahead and we'll take the bus. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, everybody switches around, like Waylon Jennings and who was the guy that died?
Buddy Holly. Wasn't Buddy Holly on that flight?
But Waylon was going to get on the plane, but I think he didn't feel good, or no, it was the other way around.
The Big Bopper had the flu.
He had the flu, so he said, "I want to get on the plane so I can get to the hotel and get cleaned up, and I just feel like hell." So. I guess Waylon Jennings was the one that decided to get on a bus or something. So he jokingly said to him, "I hope your old plane crashes." And he said, "Well, I hope your old bus crashes or something." And Waylon Jennings said, "Yeah."
No, Buddy Holly said, "I hope your bus freezes up." He told Waylon Jennings that. Waylon Jennings said, "Well, I hope your old plane crashes."
Yeah, and Waylon Jennings said he couldn't get over
Waylon Jennings, he felt terrible about having said that. Even though he said it jokingly, it wound up happening, obviously.
Another freaky thing, I don't know if you guys ever heard, what was that comedian that used to make fun of God all the time? I mean, he would scream.
Oh, that was Sam
Kinison.
Yeah.
I don't know if you both know him.
Yeah, I remember him.
But yeah, and he would get on there and just scream because he was raised religious or something. He supposedly hated God. But then he got engaged or married or something, found somebody he really cared about, and he started to kind of come out of that and was with his girlfriend and her wife. And anyway, they were driving, I think, and he had a wreck. He had a car wreck. And he was alive, and he got out of the car, but he didn't feel well. And he said, oh my God, this can't be the way that I'm going to go. And so he died, which would, and a lot of people were like, well, that's because, you know, he was always making fun of God. And even though he was kind of going back to believing in God and stuff, it wasn't.
He had spent too much time mocking him.
He had mocked him, man. He used to really, I mean, there's a lot of old clips on just ripping him a new one. So yeah, I always thought that was odd.
Well, what about Jim Morrison too? You guys were talking about
oh, they still not Jim dead, but that's like, and Elvis was so unhealthy. I don't see how he could have lived another couple years.
What about Janis Joplin? Almost the same exact situation as what what's his face?
Drugs that back in the day, I think, but some of them are a little
suspicious. But it's just weird how all of them have died like they did and stuff, and you wonder there wasn't more to a lot of it.
Right. It was all just too familiar, you know what I mean? It's like, and why didn't anybody ever pick up on that? And like Prince, the thing about him is they actually prosecuted his doctor because his doctor was telling him that he needed to take those medicine. So
they did the same thing with Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
you know, because
he got a few.
He was another one that was on. His doctor was getting him propofol and stuff.
Well, that's because that was supposed to be given to you in a hospital in a setting like with a surgeon, with an anesthesiologist and stuff. He shouldn't have been taking that at home. So that's pretty bad. But yeah, some of them are suspicious. Some of them probably really are.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell what. And that one friends I watched a show about that, and they were talking about how
I knew rehab
rehab was a big scam, and all that. There was all this crookedness with the doctors and the California Board of Health out there in LA and Hollywood. And Kelly Osbourne was actually talking about that. She said she was going to the doctor all the time without her parents and getting them to write her scripts, and she was 12 years old.
Well, they do surgeries on young
And the California Board of Health was supposed to be investigating this stuff, and they were all bought off by the pharmaceutical industries and doctors who were super rich out there, and there was a big to-do about all that too.
Yeah. I was always spooked me out with Sam Kinison though, because they say somebody that smites God like that.
Well, they did that at the Golden Globes. They were
making
them.
And
then a couple days later, the big California wildfire started in LA.
Oh, I never thought about that. That's a whole nother thing.
That was a whole nother thing to talk about with the Hollywood conspiracy.
I never even thought about that. Yeah, that's Sam Smith and stuff.
Yeah.
So look at Mick Jagger. Okay, that kind of counters.
Just going back a bit. Talking about the musicians that died because of drug overdoses. I was watching a old, I think it was 1980s interview with B.J. Thomas. The singer did Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, and back during that period of his career, he was on amphetamines because he was doing so many gigs at one time. They needed something to keep him going, and I think he lost his wife and he's lost a lot of friends through it, and he did eventually get off it, but it's because you are doing all of this stuff all the time. You need to
that picker upper.
But
now that's interesting. You should say that too about how some of these people had tragedies surrounding them too, because there was a video series Mom sent me not too long ago. It was this rapper called Arthur Fleck. And he was talking about how he sold his soul to the devil for success and fame and fortune. And a lot of people who've done that, supposedly there has to be a sacrifice where like somebody they love has to die or something. And he was saying that was why there was the tragedy. I can actually probably send those videos to you guys or whatever if you want. But it was like really TikTok shorts or whatever.
Mhm.
He had like 8 videos where he talked about a short 8 video series, and each of the videos was like maybe a minute or so long.
Yeah.
And
Those
that
were
was really
spooky.
interesting. And then the very last video, he said he was threatened and couldn't make any more videos, which was really weird.
But I never thought about the awards show, so because I didn't watch them. So what was the story there, Austin? Complete story.
Oh, supposedly at the Golden Globes, they were talking about how many mentions these celebrities that were nominated for the Golden Globes had on social media.
Yeah,
And then they said
Rehill did that.
And then they said that God had 0 mentions, and the whole audience was laughing about it and everything. And then, like 2 days later, it was when those LA wildfires started.
A lot of those people live there.
Yeah, and a lot of those people live there. And that Father Rehill was talking about, he lived out there for a time. He said one day he heard God tell him that all that would be gone soon. And it was like he didn't believe it because it just didn't see how it could be possible. And a couple months later, it happened when those wildfires in LA started. So that's something I wondered about too.
Yeah.
And those are videos, and we could look up and maybe link in the description section of the video.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you guys one thing though. That basement scares the shit out of me, dude.
Which one? The one I'm in?
Yeah. Is that your basement?
Yeah.
This is actually.
Are you hiding out from the tornadoes or something?
No, this is the basement. Like this is the laundry area and where the water heater, and I have some cabinets in my freezer and stuff.
This is like a room just off of the basement.
Yeah,
in Mom's house.
So if you open the door, like you go straight and open the door, it goes into a full finished basement. I got the fireplace, and
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
We thought it would add to the creepy element of the show.
That's what it did.
Yeah, that was kind of what we intended, and I'm glad it's creeping you out.
It's creepy. I'm like,
here, yeah.
You've accomplished your goal, man.
Yeah, we were trying to be creepy.
Yeah.
I'm creeped out. You guys did a good job.
It might be good if whenever we do this going forward, you do it over in this corner because it's the creepy element.
The creepy
My
corner.
Basement's kind of creepy depending on lighting is because it's
not like that.
But not like this.
Not like that. That's like
this is the lighting. I think is what's the main thing about it, and you can tell it's not a finished area of the basement, so it's got that creepy.
But it's warm. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, it's not cold or anything.
And they just
summer's creepy corner.
They could have actually.
It's a creepy corner. That's what I love about it.
They could have actually remodeled this too and put like a ceiling, a drop ceiling. It's got boards now, and put like stuff on the wall and made it like a fancy laundry room and made it real pretty. But it's not awful. I mean, it doesn't scare me. I've come in here alone.
It scares me.
And that's good.
Alone. I'll take walks alone at night. And my boyfriend's like, you can't do that.
That's the aim. We wanted to have kind of a creepy vibe for the show, and that was we achieved it.
Yeah.
That makes it really cool.
I used to take nighttime walks, and I walked by this freaking apple tree all the time. And every time I walked by this apple tree, there was deers that were out there always trying to get the apples.
Yeah.
It took about 2 months for me to figure out, for it to dawn on me that, at any point I could actually die because me being there could have freaked one of those deers out and they could have just ran straight into me and just
but they're not usually very aggressive, are they? Unless they're bucks. Maybe
if they're scared,
Yeah, but
in the middle of the night, some skinny.
I'll tell you, the place that was scary is the house I used to live in, the old farmhouse. Wow, very scary.
I've heard about that old farmhouse. That was a creepy place.
It was beautiful. I've got pictures of it still. I've got a lot of pictures of it. I'll just send you a couple pictures of scary rooms. I think. I told you that one kid that was my daughter's friend. She was having a big party, and they were older then. I bet you she was almost in college. and his name was Graham, and I went outside and he was sitting on the porch steps, and I said, Graham, why don't you want to go back? Aren't you going back inside? I said, it's a little chilly out here. He said, I'm not going back in that house, and I especially am not going back in the parlor. We had a garden room, but it was an old parlor. Mm-hmm. Actually, I said they probably buried people back in the 1800s, 1900s here, but you know, or at least had the services there. They didn't bury them in that room, but maybe. But there's a graveyard actually close to the house up in the little village. So they may have had the services at the house and buried him up there. But he said he was never going back in the house, and he wasn't especially going back into the parlor. And you know, none of the other kids were acting like that. So I don't know if he was somebody that could see stuff or feel stuff. And he never did come back to our house when she'd have other parties. They were pretty good friends. He'd never come back. He just did be at our house. Like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, there were some people that didn't want to be in that house.
Mark's like a rock. You see how he's not even scared one bit.
Austin
in the nearest city to me, there is a Jewish graveyard, and I think about 15 years ago, there was a load of students. It's a university city, so yeah, there was a load of students flats built on it, and I've heard some interesting sort of ghost stories coming from there.
Oh, I bet. You know, here, I don't know if you've ever heard about it, Roger, and you probably haven't, Mark, but it's the worst supper club in the history of the United States here. 160 people were killed. It was in Kentucky, and it was it happened like in 1977. It was called the Beverly Hills Supper Club Fire, and they kind of think it was like a mob thing. But anyway, 160 people died, and all these years people have been fighting and carrying on about what to do with this beautiful site there. And you know, the victims, the families of the victims were like, no, we don't want you to build or do anything there. There some businesses were wanting to build there and whatnot. And so finally, just recently, they're going to build a subdivision there. They're going to put a big monument up for the people that died. As you come into the subdivision, I guess they're going to have this beautiful monument for the victims of that fire. And so many years ago, and I was discussing with a few people on Facebook. It was a post, and people were like, "Oh, you think it'll be haunted?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably." I would say it's not good, but yeah, that's funny. You know, there's an energy.
You might be all those Stephen King sort of houses built on Indian burial grounds, sort of.
Yeah,
kind of the same.
Pet cemetery, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it was such a terrible way to die because those people were in the supper club, and it was hard to get out. And a lot of them couldn't get out, and they all died, you know, from fire-related stuff. So it was terrible.
That was mob related because they intimidated. They were trying to get that owner to sell them the place, and he wouldn't do it. So they were making an example out of him by burning the supper club to the ground.
They didn't care.
See, that kind of ties into the Hollywood and stuff too.
Yeah.
And then all that stuff ties into government corruption too, because that's all interrelated.
Right.
A lot of shit. Like kind of how Epstein, you know, a lot of his clients weren't just Hollywood people. They were people in Washington, D.C. They were people in
Clinton,
probably London, probably London, probably Ottawa, any of the major world.
There is the again allegedly there is the connection between Epstein and Prince Andrew.
Prince Andrew, I was going to say, and then what the other one too? What, the one that just moved to America? Or no, maybe not. I'm not sure about him, but yeah.
We're talking about Prince and Meghan Markle.
Yeah. But I think he might have been a little too young. But
it would be too young.
But
think
the
Only in these.
other one, they actually
He was probably one of the ones that got sold.
he actually kind of got demoted, didn't he? Because of his mom and the whole thing.
What, didn't he get kicked out of the royal family technically?
I don't know exactly. I mean,
That's a bit of a grey area.
Yeah.
It didn't
that's
build him up any. It didn't build
grey area.
up. He was.
It didn't build up his standing with them at all.
No.
I'm hoping.
And potentially because of his visa status, he could be kicked out of the US soon.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. That's possible with all the.
Because I believe, there's an allegation that he lied on these people.
Yeah.
Do they want him back? I don't think anybody wants him back over there.
You guys don't want him back over there, do you?
We don't care.
Or are you guys indifferent? You don't really care whether he comes back or not.
Now that's another thing. Their mother, how he
okay.
died. I always thought that was kind of odd. I'm sure the Princess Di thing.
Yeah, that was kind of odd.
Because she was going to marry Dodi Fayed, and then that was not something that they wanted. So and his dad.
Well, I don't know if it was. I'm not sure if she was going to marry because she wasn't divorced. So, but yeah, there's a question about relationships. Let's just say.
Yeah, and Dodi Fayed's dad always, and I don't know if he's still alive, but I know up until recently he was always saying that there was something. It was some kind of conspiracy that killed his son. That accident wasn't just an accident, but I don't know. That one would be a hard one to do, but you never know. It was kind of. And then that night they said he was going to propose to her, but I thought she was separated, and she wasn't even divorced.
Yeah, but she was still not divorced, so that would be what, bigamy?
Yeah.
Legally speaking, yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That kind of ties into the whole Epstein. I mean, that Epstein thing was was a global thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't just a Hollywood or a Washington conspiracy. That was a global. That was a global thing that ties into governments and the whole showbiz industry and all that shit. It's absolutely enormous. And they keep saying, they're going to release the Epstein list unredacted, which I'm hoping they will. But at the same time, I'm not holding my breath.
I doubt it. Not if it's well. Again, we have to caveat this thing by stating allegedly because who knows? It's still relatively fresh thing. But if it is related to influential people, such as the royal family, it's not going to be released anytime soon.
Right.
At the very least, it'll be redacted to exclude their names. They'll see to it.
I doubt we are going to ever know the truth, at least not in our lifetime, anyway.
Right.
No. It's an enormous. It's an enormous scandal, but it may never come to a total head where the public totally knows the truth.
Right.
Which is where it kind of seems to be headed. It's an absolutely enormous thing. And we don't even, sometimes I wonder if Jeffrey Epstein's even really dead. I mean, that may sound out there for some, but I wonder about that because
he might not be. Maybe it was a patsy. Or somebody they put in there.
People as well connected and as rich as him, they could easily fake their own deaths and stuff.
Yeah.
mean, so you never really know.
I've heard so many rumors about people not dying. Hell, Elvis Presley's on Mars,
Well,
on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Dead though at his last concert.
Yeah,
I don't
they
see
said
how he didn't die.
Yeah, they said that. Yeah, I don't believe Elvis is still alive. I think he really did die. So there's that too, and that kind of muddies the waters when somebody really does fake their own death.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah.
you know, us little people don't know the truth.
I've got validation on some of that though. Like if you guys go and you start researching how many men fake their own death to get out of their weddings, it would blow your mind.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Hmm.
There's so
know that.
many. There's so many men who were supposed to get married and they faked their death so that they wouldn't have to marry the woman they were getting married to.
That's interesting.
Where can we research those stats?
You just look
Go and type it in Google search, and you
And
it's there. I mean, it is there.
Google doesn't censor the search results or anything on.
Man
But
fakes.
just like remember, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true.
Well, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
And you know what I'm noticing too, especially because especially with this allegedly Jay-Z stuff that he's
And
done.
it's alleged.
When you look him up, because there's all
Alleged.
kinds of stuff out there and all kinds of people like that think he's done this and that, and there's a lot of people against him. But if you look him up, AI's got like, oh, he's doing great. This isn't hurting him. Nothing's going on. So he's monitoring that. He's got some ties as to what goes out there about him.
Well, he probably bought some of the most expensive AI bots on the internet that can fake all kinds of stuff for him and what have you.
So now with AI, you know, a lot of people are manipulating they have a lot of money and power. They're manipulating.
Technically, I do not like to use the term artificial database recognition. But yeah, if you're getting all your data sets from places like Wikipedia,
yeah, that's a little different. So, but yeah, now
from somewhere.
Thing that pops up is AI, so you got to be careful with that because it's not always true.
Yeah.
It's never true.
Yeah,
almost never.
Well, I won't say never, never say never, but
Well, I mean about real issues. If you want real issues, they're not going to give you the real data. You better do some research. Make sure.
There's things we'll never know, regardless how much research we do, because there's just so many cover-ups that have either been carried out, or being carried out. There's no way we know what the hell is going on completely, or how to bring everything that is going on into one clear picture completely.
Yeah.
I mean, it lies about everything, though. Like, if I tell them to write me something that has 3,000 words in it, they will freaking write me something that says it has 12 or 3,000 words in it, and it's only 1,200.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it kind of counts on you not counting the words.
Right.
You just ask him. You just ask them. Say, is that really 3,000 words? And they will say, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. That is not 3,000 words. Here, let me go ahead and update that for you.
Right.
So it's lying.
Yeah, it is point blank lying to you. And then when you call them out on it, they admit that they lied to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so
That's true.
When I talk about lying, I mean they lie on so many different levels. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it goes back to a point that me and Roger
slow down.
in relation to artificial intelligence, and people relying on what people term as artificial intelligence when they lack actual intelligence. The issue is that people don't have critical thinking skills these days.
No, they don't.
It's
No,
been critical thinking that's been bummed out of them.
There's people who believe too much.
well, they believe everything they see too.
Too many people believe just they hear the first thing and they automatically believe it.
Well, it happened today. There was a big thing with Trump, the tariffs. There's supposed to be all these protests, and there was this big, huge crowd supposedly. And as we were watching it, they said, "Oh, we have to say this. This picture is not of the actual event. This is a non-related event." So there's all these people, and I'm like, well, how many people really is it this thing?
Another thing too, a lot of people don't think about these protests against Trump and all this stuff. The left is trying in this country. They're trying to act like these protests are grassroots. They're not. They're really funded by people like George Soros and stuff like that. And that's another thing the media doesn't tell you. So they kind of lie by omission.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I was talking about AI. Just putting it out there.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, like now we're getting into some serious stuff here. We're talking about the media lying to us. Oh my God.
God, that's a show, 2 or 3 shows.
Yeah.
That's a series of mystery shows in and of itself.
I was like, shit, dude. Now
I think the secret there. I think the secret is to question everything. Be skeptical about everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Question everything. Even question your pet.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that. I think that's something we all agree on. And I was like, oh hell, don't get me started on the media. And I don't trust none of them at all. I mean,
no, I don't either.
Like what's his name? He was the dude that used to be on Fox News. He was real popular. Not Kramer. Rauner or he was the heavier set guy with the big mouth. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope.
He was actually the spotlight. He's the guy that had the straight cut hair and always had the part down the side, black hair.
Again, at the US thing, so
the guy that had the straight black hair
had his hair nice and combed and parted to the left or something like that. He was one of the most popular on the Fox News, and he was always talking about them doing an investigation.
Carlson.
Yeah, Carlson. What was it?
Vladimir Putin.
Well, let me point something out about him that I don't like. Like he said for almost 2.5 years that they were doing an investigation of Hillary Clinton, and that they had all these files and they were going to have her in prison. They're going to lock her up. And he kept saying it and feeding off of that so that he could get people to watch his show. And you know what happened? Nothing. And he just kept pushing that lie.
That's related to the personal email server and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, she did.
Email
classified information.
They're all Teflon. It doesn't matter what party, And then you got Fox, and then you got MSNBC, and they're all. I think both of them are losing a lot of people because nobody wants to hear just one side.
And nobody knows what to believe anymore.
No, they're lying.
We're not getting the truth.
They're lying. Yeah.
They
were lying, and they let that go for several hours because my boyfriend was watching it on and off. And they never said anything about that not being the correct crowd until much later in the afternoon. So how many people really thought that was? Because he thought it was. Yeah. He was like, look at the crowd. And I was like, I don't know. Where are they? Mm-hmm. It was a weird looking crowd, too. It didn't look like a protest. That's what I told him. I said,
there's no joke in the UK. The BBC and the Met Office providing weather reports, and goes back to something like 1987 with the tornadoes that we had, which the Met Office said wasn't going to happen. But yeah, if you want to, if the Met Office says it's going to rain, look outside the window. Have a look out the window. If it is raining, then they're correct. If it isn't, then they are not correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Never believe.
Question
That's
everything.
true. You have
Yeah.
to. It'll get worse now with AI
Yeah.
stuff. It's going to get worse. I don't know how we're going to decipher it, but
We won't know. Nobody
Yeah.
will know for sure what's reality and what isn't, and what's really going on and what isn't.
right.
Nothing makes any. A lot of shit just don't make any damn sense these days.
you guys are talking about meteorology. So want me to tell you something that doesn't make sense?
What's that?
Found out
Go on.
that there has been no tornadoes whatsoever that happens in Germany, okay? And even though they have never freaking had any need for warning systems for tornado warnings, meteorologists still push for them to have a emergency notice whenever tornado warnings came into Germany.
Actually, not tornadoes, hurricanes. Europe doesn't really get tornadoes as such, but hurricanes, yeah.
But they
guys
Same
get-
thing, really.
You
But,
guys get hurricanes in the Mediterranean region, right, Mark? Like the southern
yeah,
Europe
yeah.
more than anything, and maybe northern Africa,
You guys.
but not really tornadoes or anything.
That's what gets me though, is why are they trying to push useless freaking stuff like that in a region that doesn't experience it? You know what I mean? It's like, that's just because it's here in the United States doesn't mean you need it there in Germany.
Because somebody's making money.
It's about money.
If you follow the money, and that's that, you'd have to do the research and really dig in and follow
Right.
the money. That has to be what it comes back to. I would
Yeah.
think.
Well, I gotta be careful because Mark gets upset when I start talking bad about legislation in Europe and England.
Well,
it depends on the subject, depends on how accurate you are.
Well, legislation. He loves bureaucracy. Like, he loves it.
there's bureaucracy everywhere. It's not
Well-
just Europe. It's America too. We got a lot of red tape and bureaucracy and infringements on the Constitution.
Yeah.
Now that's something I'll cover. I'll cover all that stuff in depth on my upcoming series, Reluctantly Political,
Yeah.
with Roger Hanson and Mark Edworthy.
There we go.
Yeah. I guess wrap it
Yeah.
up because our
She's
perspective of
getting
there's-
tired, is what it is.
She's getting drunk is what
No.
she's going.
no,
Yeah, I figured
it's
she was
been-
drunk like a half an hour ago.
My
To be
boyfriend-
honest, she
She
started,
is drunk.
started acting all funny and shit.
No, I'm trying to get. Yeah, it's been a long while. So yeah,
See right there, dude, right there. Did you see that? She goes, what is that? Oh, yeah. See, well, anyhow.
they're wondering. They want us to wrap it up, but yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's been a good show.
I
So
think
you-
it is.
Okay, well, we'll just sign off, and if you guys want to
We'll,
still talk, you can. But
Well, I mean, it's your show, dude. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
You're gonna have to do all the.
I was gonna say, we'll just have to figure out when Mark's available to do the Reluctantly Political show and whatnot, and then we'll kind of go from there with that.
okay,
We'll just
He's gonna love you, dude. Okay, like, this is the kind of politics he loves. So, like, I'm the one who wants to do the actual historical politics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's what we'll do. Well,
He-
We've done that in the past.
But I'm saying
Yeah, we've done that.
Mark is like a freaking I like call it garbage politics, but he's a junkie of that shit. He eats it up like it's freaking going out of style, dude.
Here, get my wine bottle open.
You know you're addicted. Depends, yeah.
Depends.
On the first episode, I want to talk about how the idea for Reluctantly Political came about and why I call it Reluctantly Political.
Okay.
And then we'll all three
Okay.
talk kind of what we want to talk about throughout the whole series. That'll be the first episode, just kind of laying the foundation for the show.
Cool.
Does that sound good to you guys?
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Now, when will you be available to do that, Mark? I know Roger's always available. He's around.
Generally speaking, I'm fairly free most evenings. Again, when are you thinking? Within next month or something?
Okay, so maybe during the weekday. Well, the problem with us is the differences in time zones.
Just add 4 hours to your time.
Again, I do quite a bit of stuff in the evenings, as Roger knows. People like Naoki and Dixon's Vote and stuff. Jaffrey's.
Whenever you want to do it. Now.
I am in my time.
Okay, we'll just agree.
Preferably earlier, so something like 10, 11 p.m. UTC.
Yeah, that would be 6 o'clock for you.
For me.
Yeah.
That's not terrible. Yeah, we could. I'll try to do at least maybe an episode a month or so of that.
Okay.
But we'll lay the foundation in the first episode. And here in the next week or two, we'll agree on a date for our first episode, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Now, are you on Discord still, Mark?
Yeah.
I am, but I very rarely use Discord, to be fair.
Don't worry about it.
But
I'm the inside guy.
I get email notifications and local Discord.
Okay. Whenever you're ready to talk to him, I'll let him know if he's not on here.
Yeah, I'll hit you up first, Roger, and I'll let you know that. Or I can send a message to you and Mark Edworthy simultaneously in just a single message at both.
Yeah.
Works.
It works for me.
And then, of course, I'm always dropping. Did you see my new music videos? I'm gonna be dropping those one every week. I'm gonna be dropping videos now.
Okay. And that episode that I've been starting, it's called Untethered. And that's gonna be about everything, including freaking like current events and entertainment. So freaking we can probably set something up to where you can come on.
Again, I apologize for missing last night's, but I was just so knackered. I was out all day yesterday, and by the time I
it's good that you weren't there.
got back, I was just dead on my feet.
We were talking about Moloch.
I knew you. I thought you would go for 4 or 5 hours, and no way I was going to do that.
Well, plus
I actually fell asleep. But I would have no I messaged you.
We were talking about Moloch, and I know you wouldn't have enjoyed that at all. So
okay, that worked.
Now Austin might have liked it. He we were talking about Moloch last night.
Where's the trainer? Right here.
So, that's weird. I've got like your wife's voice on there now.
And through there.
Yeah,
like you're completely gone now. It's your wife's voice.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm gonna get off of here. It's been good talking to you guys. I'll give you a message.
All right.
Hello?
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, I'll send you guys a message just figuring out when we're available to do the first episode of Reluctantly Political, and then me and Mom will decide on when to do another episode of this. We'll try to do it again in the next couple weeks or whatever.
Sounds good.
All right, man.
Talk to you guys later.
Of course, dropping my music videos. I'll keep you guys updated on those as I keep dropping them.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, man. Good talking to you guys.
You too, man.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let me go back in here so I can shut the stream down. So I can shut the stream here. So I can shut the stream.